5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve. This is Live with Neve. Iconic musicians, comedy, and God knows what else. Hold on!
How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday to you. This is a pop-up show on Live with Neve. We're having a great time. We're going to be talking cannabis, marijuana, and all kinds of other fun substances. Depending on where you come from, it might be frightening, might be terrifying. You might think it turns young ladies into sleeping with jazz musicians or even bass players. But no, none of that happens. We're going to be talking about medical marijuana. We're going to be talking about bass players. Hi, Julie. I just had to start the day with that little tidbit.
I know you do.
I just love you. You know I'm just messing with you.
I know. Oh God, I know.
I mean, okay, come on now. Let's get this show on the road. So today,
yes,
we have a cool guest who I've been reading his publication for quite a while. Every time it pops into my mailbox, I actually feel, I asked him earlier, I feel I'm kind of caught up to date with it because he really does do a good product. When I just asked him backstage about what was going on, he's just like battled it off without raising an eyelid, and it's like everything that I've read pretty much in his publication. So
yeah.
Without further ado, I think we ought to bring him on. I will tell you, everybody, if you're out here, if you're not in the New York area, it's been snowing, slurrying, and just basically crappy outside. If you're in Florida like Julie is, she's sitting here going, I'm going to the beach today later, dude.
No, I don't know about that,
but you know, it's a great day, and coincidentally, our show is called High in Highlands, excuse me. I keep doing that because now I've got myself into a feedback lock every time I go on, but I know some of my local residents get upset if you use the term the Highlands. So I got to remember, I am just high in Highlands, overlooking beautiful New York City and the Atlantic Ocean. So enough about all that mumbo jumbo. We got a great guest. We're going to bring him on without further ado. Don Ulloa. Is that pronounced correctly?
Dan Ulloa.
Ulloa. Okay, not kind of close. At least your name doesn't have as many vowels as mine does. My real name is Neil Ernest Van Erdy, so I like yours. It's trim, hence the Neve thing.
It's Spanish.
Just yes. Okay. Well, I'm an Italian guy, so I don't know. Let's go eat. So Dan, tell us what's going on in cannabis in New Jersey. Just kind of give us a little overview of what's going on and take it away.
Yeah, so we're supposed to have been legal January 1st. We passed a referendum on Election Day. 67% of our state voted in favor of it. The legislature passed our decriminalization and enabling bills December 17th. But we've hit a little snag here in that the governor doesn't want to sign the bills because there's no penalties for those under 21 caught with cannabis.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that?
So this is really enraging, actually, that the governor has stopped the process because early in December, he had to meet with the Senate president and the speaker, and they had to hash out a deal. Mm-hmm. And they did. And that's when this should have been addressed. This is one of those things. It's a detail, but it's not a detail that shouldn't have been addressed in December, and then the bill passed a couple weeks later. So it's a really infuriating where we are right now, where he wants the legislature to pass like a cleanup bill to have a penalty on minors or those under 21. The legislature doesn't want to do that. They're saying that even a small penalty, could lead to like what we have now, unfortunately, is if you're caught with a little thing, you could be on your life to a life as a second-class citizen, with a felony, for example. You can't get a job. It's very difficult. That comes up everywhere. Credit, it's like it really is like hard to deal with that type of thing when you have like formal paperwork. So we don't want to get rid of that, but they say that even like the slap in the wrist, would be bad.
Here's the thing. The only people who don't want this to go through, it's certainly not the people of New Jersey. And my speculation is that it's either the alcohol industry, which, I like the alcohol industry. They do a product, but I know that this threatens their interests. So people have interests, not friends in this kind of case. I also think that the medical marijuana issue and how they're dealing with that is completely screwed. Somebody's dying of cancer, they should be able to grow 6 plants and not go to jail because they're ready. What are they going to do? Put them in jail and then pay for their health care? It's
That's
just,
a big issue. That's a big
but
issue. Is home grow. Yeah, we're very disappointed. Our grassroots community here, our activists, our advocates are very disappointed that home grow wasn't included in the bill. The legislature was not like about to do that. They were really against it from the start, and they really didn't
right,
change their attitude. The bill is good though on like more on setting up an industry where there's provisions for
right.
micro businesses, there's
Well,
provisions for
yeah,
minorities.
let me ask you about that. I have
Entrepreneurs.
read, in fact, I read on your page, but I just want to ask you a question. How far reaching is that? The minority owned business, is that a woman, person of color? How does that, I mean, can like say, for example, if you got somebody who's a patient and they want to just grow some, but they want to grow some to sell to their neighbors, is there any, how does that work? Can you like have a vineyard that's registered in and like you could have a cannabis vineyard, if you will?
So it's basically like if you're not a business, you can't grow, and they did not, and I don't even believe they knocked down the penalty. So it's a much worse penalty than a mere possession
Right,
right now, and will be in the future. Like it's still like really bad, like more like a trafficking charge than
right,
like a
right,
possession charge. So it's really bad. So you can't do that. There's no provision for any like little growing here or there legally.
right.
And it's quite unfortunate. There's a lot of times, like if you need a specific strain to treat like three ailments, you're not going to be able to get that at the dispensary. You might have one that can treat it, but it might be old cannabis, and you're definitely going to pay too much for it
Oh yeah,
right
and
now.
absolutely. I noticed that just watching this unfold, I keep wondering, they've got it right in some ways, but they're really making it like it's really hard for somebody of modest means to come up with the money needed. And I know there's some heavy players up at the governor's office and in other places where they're involved in this industry. And I don't want to point accusations because I have no proof, but there's been some speculation and discussion about, members of the administrations having friends who are going to benefit from this. And I think there's a lot of little backroom. It's like anything that goes on in any, state government. There's just stuff that, we don't hear about. To discuss behind closed doors. And again, I don't blame anybody. To me, helping people who are your friends out. But I think like somebody like I know a lot of small town people who would like to grow, have a business, a dispensary, or even grow. And when they've looked into it, unless you have like the fact that you have to have a different license for growing, selling, and the retail, you have to have three different, if I'm not mistaken, a commercial, a growing, and a
Yeah, that would
dispensary.
be that would be a vertical license. So our bill does have provisions for micro businesses, which is good. And there's
Hmm.
provisions in the medical law that passed last year, the Jake Honing Act for micro businesses. The problem is, oh, excuse me, we haven't had a license round for those. So in
Hmm.
2019, the governor issued a call for applications for 24 licenses
Right,
that included the three kinds of growing, manufacturing, and distribution as
right.
retail.
That was
So,
it.
but that license, so there's 24 licenses that have been held up since around December 2019. So that's a good 14 months or so, 13 months or so. I calculated last. So, and we only have 13 dispensary locations right now in Jersey. For 9
Right.
million people, we have 13 locations, and that's really bad. So, yeah, so like while Governor Murphy has been good on a lot of things, he could also be a lot better. We have this terrible lawsuit that's holding up the 24 licenses, whereby the NJ Department of Health either will not or cannot just settle this like lawsuit. It's really bad.
I think a lot of this whole right now, the skullduggery, in my opinion, one of the biggest opponents, it's not the alcohol industry, it's the Trial Lawyers Association. Those guys make so much cash off weed busts, it's not even funny. I have friends who are in the business, and they're great, and I don't blame them. They work the laws as they are written, and that's their job as a zealous advocate for their client. However, they have had a gravy train based on misery. And like you said earlier, a lot of people who are just average working hacks. Say somebody's like, just when they're younger, they had done something stupid, got put in jail for a year or two, maybe a robbery or a burglary. Not, nothing violent, just some garden variety, maybe shoplifting, they get put in jail. If they're smoking weed, it's like far worse than that. Like you had mentioned earlier, you're going to lose your job. And if you're a kid and you've been in jail for a few years when you're young, but then what happens if you come out and you become a perfect model citizen and you want to do something? you're kind of screwed the way it is. I do think the excessive sentencing and the fact that the attorneys, look, that's what it's all about at the end. This whole industry, it's all about money and nothing more. The amount of regulation that goes on, I believe the less the better. I think grown-ups, for the most part, it's like we don't walk around and do all this shit for cigarettes, and they're far worse than marijuana, in my opinion. And I think if you look at the social costs of alcohol, well, it's a no-brainer, you know. I'm a reformed alcoholic and I don't drink. And, you know, thank God I can smoke a little herb once in a while. You know, I have a medical card and it keeps me feeling good. I've got, you know, health issues, but I don't have to diagram. But I think of people who are really, really sick, cancer, it's not a good feeling to have, you know, you can't drive yourself perhaps. You can't just send somebody down. I know you can get a designated person to pick up for you, but if you know, you never know. A lot of people don't have a designated person. They're old or alone, and they might not have somebody they can just, you know, get to go do that for them, especially if they don't have a car. But at any rate, where do you think it's going to go? How long before New Jersey people will be able to buy weed? We're going to have to go to break in just a minute, but give me a rough estimate, and then we come back, we'll talk a little bit more.
Either 6 to 14 months, I'd say, for like a short answer. Because we have like a few dispensaries now, but like they're so, like they have such little cannabis, it's like ridiculous. So we really have to open like a lot more dispensaries and have
Right.
them sell it. So that process would probably take around 14 months. So we're looking at 2022, unless they really fast track it, which would be really difficult because you still have to construct these places
Right.
and like go for all the compliance. So we're looking at 2022. I wanted to say 2021, November, December, but it's the process has been so delayed, and we still have COVID issues.
Right. All right. Well, hold that thought. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Julie, run us some music for a moment. Couple of.
Hi, this is Leland Sklar, and I am hanging with Neve, and I am having the best time of my life.
Live with Neve, Fridays on the East Coast from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
I just have to say that song is so bad. I love it. I love the bass line in it. It's so killer. And then I love hearing you sing it because your voice is so perfect.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you very much.
I am blessed to know you and have you as my friend and my mentor of 27 years.
Well, you're so kind. You're such a sweetheart. You really are great.
It really is.
Thank you.
Seriously,
you really are.
I mean,
you're too nice, babe. I love you.
I'm being for real. I mean, I want
know
to
you
put it
are.
out there. People who don't know, you're welcome. People who don't know Neil yet, Neil is like the coolest, smartest, most, he child prodigy drummer. I mean, the guy knows so much.
I got to live up to this billing now. I have to live up to this.
I mean, you write songs, you play guitar, you sing, you play drums and sing. Phil Collins. I mean, that's unusual. I mean, Neil's a great guy, and he will help you no matter what. And everything Neil showed me and told me and taught me, I learned. I mean, the stuff I can do now, I can do because of what you've shared, instead of what I learned in school, what I learned as an intern in media,
Jules,
what I learned in my job.
I'm gonna live off that compliment for a month. All right, so please, I'm really overwhelmed. It's so nice.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to embarrass you.
No, I am a little embarrassed. Probably getting red here. That was very, very kind, though. You're such a sweetheart. And I love you here. Your co-host. You're great, and I don't know what our team would do without you because our team's pretty small, and as you know. So we were talking, folks. For those of you just joining us, this isn't one of our standard crazed rock and roll shows. This is my little attempt at some kind of public service because I can. I like to find out what's going on in the news. And so here we have Dan is with us. Let's go back to Dan and I. So Dan, let's tell us about your organization, the name of it, how many members you have, things of that nature. Just give us the bare bones rundown.
Yeah, so I'm the I'm the editor of HeadyNJ.com. We're an independent news site covering cannabis, hemp, and CBD in New Jersey and the region. So it's been that's what we do. I've been covering the nature of the politics of it as we move to legalization, some of the businesses that have sprung up for medical marijuana and CBD as we've gotten those rolling, for example. So it's really been interesting covering that. Offering people an independent perspective. Pro cannabis certainly, muckraking a bit, if you will.
All right. Oh, we love the dirt, man. Muck it up. I love it. All off camera or all off record sourcing is the best. My favorite. Although it's really hard anymore, I'm telling you. This with the plethora of devices around, you really have to be careful when you're talking to anybody, except on my show because we're I don't know, the FCC can't bug us, and so I guess I have my own personal FCC doctrine. It's called the Neil Doctrine. Basically says we're here to party, have a good time. Talk to some great musicians, occasionally educate some people about weed, because we're looking forward. We need some sponsors, and I'll just lay it out there. A lot of the cannabis companies are the kind of people that would be good to advertise with us. And I'm not doing this to pitch them right now. I'm just saying, like, we thought about, well, what industries want to be on a show where it's kind of comedy and it can get kind of maniacal, like an R-rated Saturday Night Live at times. It gets pretty out of hand, and it's fun. And I ultimately think that people who are out there watch it. This show is kind of aimed at a different crowd than my usual. Like, it's a rock and roll music show, comedians.
Nice. I like rock.
Yeah, cool. We're all about good rock and roll. I mean, we've got some amazing. Our guest last night, Doug DeJong from Australia. After we get off, if you want to hear a great guitar player, Steve Vai produced his record, and it's amazing. He talks about how he diagrammed it out like ladders. It's a whole metaphor. The title, the production, the riffs. It's like very deep mathematics really involved in the way he did it. And he explained it so easily that even a drummer could understand it. And so getting back to it, how many people do you have subscribed to you guys?
We have, what did I say, about 1,300 or so on our listserv. We've been booming recently. We're getting around 7,000, even 8,000 views this month. With cannabis getting close, and thank you.
Right.
Yeah, with cannabis getting close, people want the news. We have a few people trying to operate on the in the gray market. That's been really doing well. So really happy about that. This is what we've been waiting and waiting for real cannabis to come, and we're right there and waiting for our own little green rush to occur.
Right.
So as we get closer, it's a lot of excitement around that,
Yeah, well, I find it whenever it pops up in my feed. I just, like I said, it's one of my first stops when it pops up. I just like to see what's going on. I think, it's amazing how long it can take a government to whip this thing through the House and do some more log rolling and then get it up, and then they have to argue about it. They make a joint declaration and they kind of bail on that after, like we were talking about, right after around December 20th or whatever it was. And to me, I just sit here and laugh because to me, it's not even a Republican or a Democratic thing anymore. There's people on both sides who are either going to make some money and push for it. There's other people on the other side who probably will make something. And it's always about money. So I don't care. They're politicians. It's like saying drummers are supposed to be all calm and quiet and sedate, which everybody knows is kind of a joke. But, politicians, they are what they are. And I kind of look at it like, I don't know. I kind of think of them somewhere between an Amway salesman and a Jehovah's Witness knocking on your door, coupled with a really greasy lawyer attitude. And that's almost all of them. I don't really care what side they're on. Once I meet them, and I've met a bunch of them, and I find that they're mostly hollow suits. They're kind of not skilled enough to do something real, so they go public service ostensibly to tell us how great and what they're going to do for us. And it's just a paycheck like any other job, and they're human. I don't, there's no party that holds a morality on virtue, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are going to call them, but, they don't even bother calling. I don't want to hear it. You got your vote. Go out and do it, man. Don't tell me about it. I don't care who somebody votes for. I guess a lot of people go out and bang on the drum, and I have my whole life. I've seen enough cockery from both sides now in my 60 years that I just they come and go. Some years it's to the left, some years it's to the right, and this shit's been going on for centuries. So I don't expect it to change, and I don't expect much because it's like we're limited to what we can do about these. Like trying to get a bill through the House, like you said, 16 months is a long time from now after this thing's been legal. The weed's been legal for what, 2 years now for the second time?
Well, so we passed the referendum in November. It was supposed to start January 1st.
Right.
We're now, what was it? We're now some like 40 days, without the implementation regulations that
Right.
we needed. And like Governor Murphy took office on campaigning on cannabis, saying like we're gonna get this done, we're gonna get it done, 100 days, first year.
Yeah.
And now he's running for re-election. Like he's already got a couple ads up on the big sites.
Yeah.
So it's really
Well,
amusing.
you'd
In
think
that
this is
fashion.
it would be an easy thing for him. I just don't see why it's so difficult to get something done. Even the Republicans, this is the kind of ththing that looking at it as a pragmatist, I say Republicans should like this because it's going to raise a bunch of money. They're going to raise taxes and they're going to have some more shit they can buy because that's what they want.
They
They
really
just
don't
want
like it. We have like a few token Republicans that are for it, but like they really haven't been like that helpful. But it really has been a fight within like the Democratic Party here
right
with like Democrats because they've had clear majorities of Democrats in both
forever.
chambers, and it's
Right.
basically these Democrats that have this very war on drugs like
Right.
mentality, mixed with like some like a lot of this like morality, like oh it's gonna be terrible.
Well,
And it's really ridiculous.
I find that, a lot of the Democrats people, they think Republicans are all Bible thumping rednecks or, that's the way they're characterized frequently. But, there's assholes in both groups of people. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of law and order types who are just kind of older and they just don't see the sense of it. And you're never going to change somebody's mind by the time they're 75 or 60 or whatever. Their basic characteristics and the way they roll is kind of the way they roll. And they probably have people who would be disappointed in their constituency. They'd be like, well, I've been voting for old Joe for 40 years, and he's just been, here in our town, and I trust him. He's working on the war on drugs. But the war on drugs is like war on old ladies and with their leg amputated in wheelchairs and shit. And I mean, it just seems to be it's like such an easy thing to get your head around. I mean, I've known people who've done like a movie with far less time and spent millions of dollars, and they can figure it out. Yet our people that we pay a tremendous amount to, our politicians, make a pretty good chunk of change. They don't think so. They always want a little more because they think, they just need more. Because that's like I said, I don't know. It's like big catfish in the bottom of the Mississippi River. You're just sitting down there, and it moves by, he'll eat it. You don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican, and that's kind of how I look at the business. And you have also the pharmaceutical industry is the one that I neglected to add earlier when I was.
Pharma's like a funny one because some of them like they say they hate it, others are trying to get in on it. It really seems like the drug rehab industry is the one that would lose the most and can't pivot. Like a lawyer
Right,
can try another case, for example. There's always
right.
cops can lock up other people for like other crimes, but it's really having a drug rehab industry where it's like this is a zero sum game. You're gonna lose patients, which is
Right.
good, but they're like, oh no, we can't. And so that's been one of the real forces that's been, unfortunately, I think, for prohibition here in New Jersey that really stymied it to the point where we needed to have a referendum because originally this was supposed to pass in spring of 2019, and
Right.
then it was supposed to pass December 19. And I was in our state house in Trenton here in New Jersey both times, expecting
Right.
them to do the right thing, and they did the wrong thing, and I was quite hurt both times.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely share your skepticism about a lot of like our state house,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Well, it's been great talking to you. I'm glad you came on with us. And, if you want to keep us up to date, about what's going on, even with your magazine, your online magazine. I know that funding's always an issue for everybody in our business. If, you have anything you want to get out to people, like you're having a rally or whatever you're doing, just let us know. We'll be glad to tell our audience. We have a lot of musicians and stuff, and a lot of people who are, in health bound situations. Nobody really realizes it until somebody in their own family who needs it. And if you see some of your grandparents hooked on opiates, it's a pretty ugly product.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the big thing is that people are getting off opiates and onto cannabis, and cannabis can't kill you the way heroin can and the way opiates can.
Exactly. So I thank you very much for being on. We're going to go, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. We had Dan Alola, I think. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching us today. It's Tuesday, and we have some other stuff coming up in just a little bit. This afternoon, we have from California, we have the amazing Ace Arlo, and he's going to be on at 3 o'clock. Don't have my notes in front of me. Let's see what we have here. I have a note, but is it the right note? Anyhow, he'll be coming on at 3, and we'll clarify that after the show. We will be live on all 6 channels, and we'll hope you'll join us. The next show is not going to be this kind of a discussion of news. This next time is going to be some rock and roll and some fun, and we're going to do what we always do, a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and can't wait to see you all in just a little bit. Logging in.
Follow, subscribe, like us anywhere you find webcasts and on all of our social media to get bonus material.